This is Forge Daily with Mackenzie Barwell on the Forge Audio Network.
Welcome to this episode of Forge Daily. I'm your host, Mackenzie Barwell, coming to you on February 27th, 2024. It's been just over a week now since Forge's second matchup against Mexican giants, Guadalajara, but a lot has gone down since then. So in today's episode, we'll dive into Forge FC's 2-1 loss against Chivas and what Coach Bobby is taking away from that matchup, which Forge players are coming into the regular season with some confidence. Spoiler alert, one of which is KJ Tavernier. He'll be a big topic of conversation as he's not only proven himself around the league, but on the national level as well. We'll also go over Forge FC's preliminary round matchup for the Canadian Championship. And lastly, which former Forge attacker has recently signed a contract with an MLS team? So let's just get right into it, beginning with Forge FC's last matchup in Mexico. As you may know, Forge FC fell short 2-1 or 5-2 on aggregate to Chivas Guadalajara earlier this month. In the second leg of this matchup, Chivas were able to open up the scoring quite early when Mexican national team member Eric Gutierrez finished a loose ball off a corner kick. But Forge FC holding their own throughout the entire 90 minutes, sticking to their style of play and creating chances for themselves, which, as we know, was a big priority according to Coach Bobby. They came in strong going into that second half, but so would Chivas. In the 62nd minute, they scored their second and final goal of the match off a give-and-go through ball into the box. However, what would be the most exciting moment of this game was not until, well, for Canadian viewers, I guess I should say, was not until the final kick of the match when 17-year-old KJ Tavernier enters with fire off a substitution. He would strike a cutback ball from Dave Schwanier into the back of the net, making him the third youngest player to score in CONCACAF Champions Cup. Now, what I loved about this was not only his reaction and the rest of the team, but also Coach Bobby, because the broadcast cut to him and he knows that this is not going to move him to the next round, nor is it going to win him this match, but you could just see how excited he was for him. So let's throw to Christian Jack's post-game interview with both Coach Bobby and Kayvon.
Another historic night, your 20th night in CONCACAF. What are your overall emotions?
Yeah, a lot of pride in the team and the performance and what they did out there. And you look back at it and you think you deserve a little bit more too. We said that after the first time. We'll say that again after this one. It's a tough time period for us. We're playing a quality squad, but we've come out here and played Forge football. And if we keep on doing that, we'll keep on coming back to venues like this and being part of this tournament. And one day it'll go our way.
You mentioned Forge football. I'll bring it up. There was one moment in the game, about 33 minutes in, where Chivas had a lot of the ball, and your team could have looked scared and started to change their identity. And your goalkeeper, who's making, I think, his fifth appearance professionally, rolled it out to the defender, who then played it out to Malcolm Duncan, playing his biggest game, and they played it through to Noah Jensen, who's playing one of his biggest games. It must fill you with incredible joy to see the young players stick to what your game plan was in a moment like that, when easily it could have gone a different way.
We always try and preach that football first mentality. I think it can always get you out of all the toughest situations. And sometimes that's the toughest thing for players to do, because there's a lot of pressure in this match. I think Chivas does a great job of closing down the spaces, but we knew where it was, and the guys bought into the tactical ideas of what we wanted in this game. And when we did that, it worked to perfection. And maybe we would have wanted one goal a little bit earlier in this match as well.
Great point. Couple more with you. What about your teenage kid who smashes the ball in at the end? That must be, as a coach, almost like a parent. You must feel so proud of him.
It's not bad. It's a great feeling. I learned years ago from Ajax, you take these young guys and you throw them in the fire. And he didn't get a start, but we've put him into the fire in 2 games, and he's done an excellent job for us. And that's how you grow as a player. You said what's changed from 2 years ago at Cruz Azul to here. This will change for him. This will give him the extra confidence to keep him going forward. And as long as he keeps his head down and he works, he'll have a bright future.
With Kayvon Tavernier, the hero, Forge's star boy, so to speak, only 17, and you just scored a goal in Estadio Akron in the Champions Cup.
Yeah.
I've had enough talking. Let's hear from you. What do you think?
A lot of emotions, Obviously, we didn't get the win out there, but it's great to have my first goal in the CONCACAF Champions League, so ecstatic about that.
Can you talk us through it? What do you remember about it?
I remember I went 1v1 with the defender to win the corner, and we set up for the corner. Rex put the ball in, went to Dav, tapped it, and I just put my foot through it. Didn't even think about it.
A very humble response from KJ, but unsurprising given his maturity, of course, leading his response there with this wasn't the result that the team wanted. But one other thing that I wanted to highlight before we move on here was the pre-game soccer tennis tournament. Very, very intense. If you're on audio, you may remember seeing this clip on the Instagram story, but if you haven't, feel free to visit this YouTube video. It must have been a final or something because the entire team was watching. 4 guys were playing, one of which was KJ. He goes to make a play, the ball hits the post, which was a chair in this case, and then in very controversial fashion, the entire team erupts debating whether or not that this should count. Ultimately, it didn't. KJ's team loses. And when I tell you the celebration for the winning team looked like the World Cup, I am not kidding, okay? So who knows? Maybe KJ's goal was a bit of redemption for this moment. Just an idea. All right, to wrap up this CONCACAF matchup, though, CPL player of the match would go to Malik Awolabi-Bellewu. I tried to warn the Chivas fans. He did it again. Covering one of the most difficult and talented attackers he'll likely see all year, Cade Cowell. Malik maintained 90% pass accuracy, made 5 interceptions, 8 recoveries, and won 5 of 6 duels, all while playing out of his natural position at left back. So I spoke about momentum earlier in the episode. Undoubtedly, Malik will be one of these players coming into the CPL regular season and Canadian Championship with confidence. Switching gears now, we have to talk about Canada soccer because KJ Tavernier's performances with the CPL and 2023 FIFA U17 World Cup has not gone unnoticed. Recently, it was announced that KJ earned the call-up to the U20 men's national team. He's currently competing with them now in the 2024 CONCACAF Men's U20 Championship qualifier. The 3-game group stage is well underway. They played their first game a few weeks ago in Trinidad, playing at Dominica. They took that game 8-0. KJ making his presence known, scoring the 3rd goal of the game. For those of you on audio, I've included a clip here of it. He sidesteps a defender and scores a left-footed shot. Very impressive, very Kayvon Tavernier style. Second game, they played just a few days ago on the 25th. They beat St. Vincent and the Grenadines 4-0. So I would imagine they're feeling quite confident going into their 3rd and final matchup of this group stage tonight at 6 p.m. They will play Trinidad and Tobago. So you can tune into One Soccer if you'd like to see KJ play at the national level. Looking ahead, Canada Soccer recently announced that Forge FC will take on York United FC in the preliminary round of the 2024 Canadian Championship. So Forge to host York United, but to be determined as to when that game will actually be. However, we do know that the 6 preliminary round matches will take place somewhere in between April 23rd and May 1st. So the winner of that matchup will go on to face MLS side CF Montreal. For those of you who may need a refresher on the formatting of the Canadian Championship, because I know I did, the opening stage will be a single match style. So 12 teams go into it, divided up into West and East brackets. The 6 winners of those preliminary matches will move on to the quarterfinal to either play each other or MLS 2023 champions, Vancouver Whitecaps FC, or MLS 2023 finalists, CF Montreal. Now, those quarterfinal matches will be a 2-part home and away series scheduled throughout the month of May. The 14 participating clubs represent 5 leagues: the MLS, the Canadian Premier League, League One Ontario, League One BC, and League One Quebec. For anyone on audio, I have included the visual for the bracket. I highly recommend that you have a look at that on socials or the website because I feel like it'll be a good visual aid in addition to what I just described and might give you a better understanding. This is a trophy not yet in the Forge FC trophy cabinet. If you've been a fan for a while, you'd know just how badly this team wants it. So be sure to keep an eye out for the announcement of the date for that preliminary round. Last but not least, another player worth highlighting, Forge favorite and now former Forge attacker, Woobin Spasias has confirmed his signing with MLS team Nashville SC. At just 22 years old, Woob's now under contract in the MLS for the 2025 season. Nashville also with options for the 2026-27 season. In his signing announcement, they mentioned some of his stats, highlighting him as the leading scorer for Forge FC across 93 total appearances. Woobs had 32 goals. In 2024, Nashville will chase their 5th straight MLS playoff appearance. They actually also just made their CONCACAF Champions Cup debut last Thursday. In the first leg of the first round, they played Mocha FC, a Dominican Republic professional team. They'll now go into their second leg up 3-0 on aggregate. So, of course, we wish Woobs all the best with this team, but definitely a bittersweet moment for the Forge FC community. All right, so what is next? Well, Forge FC have returned to training as they gear up for their 2024 Canadian Premier League campaign. That will kick off April 13th against Cavalry FC at home. And then, of course, we've got the Canadian Championship preliminary round against York United, the date to be determined. That's all I have for today's episode. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll be back to check in on the audio network next week.
This has been Forge Daily with Mackenzie Barwell. If you like what you heard, please like, follow, subscribe, comment, and share.